make sure when you're going forward and selecting your classes in IB that they're somewhat relevant to the major that you would be doing, because that genuinely helps.
The entrance requirement for my university was 39 points and I didn't score. But because of my portfolio, they just took me in the uni, and it's the third best for architecture in the UK.
Like, I would say when you apply to universities in Canada, just ask them if like you can get a work permit after. It will make your life so much easier.
But it's really not about how good or bad you are with it, but it's about the level of experimentation and the level of exploration you're going to do with it.
I've always loved storytelling. I think the combination of all three, visual arts, TOK and English, they made me a better storyteller.
After 10th grade, I got a good result with like science subjects. So everybody like that is just assumed ki, yeah, she'll take up, bio, physics and chemistry. And I realized that I really do not want to become a doctor. That was not something I was inclined to, but I was really interested in arts and psychology.
What happened initially was I was supposed to take chemistry as my HL because was told that I need to pursue science more. And I took physics and maths as my major, but honestly, I hated chemistry. I always wanted to do arts, but I don't know, it just felt like more of a hobby subject before I'd taken it up. That's why I was a little reluctant to, take it as my 11th, 12th subject, because I was like, art school tak theek hai, but 11th, 12th ke baad, I have to go for college. So science would be like a safer subject stream to choose.
We all can begin. Who would like to go first? Yes.
Cool. So I'll just start. So I am Anjali Bansal. I graduated, I finished my 12th in 2013. And I came to Gurukul for like 2 years. So before that, I'd done CBSE and I had 2 years of IB and 2 awesome years with Nana ma'am. And then I moved on to MIT. Right. So what happened initially was I was supposed to take chemistry as my HL because I sort of was told that I need to pursue science more. And I took physics and maths as my major, but honestly, I hated chemistry. And I always wanted to do arts, but I don't know, it just felt like more of a hobby subject before I'd taken it up. That's why I was a little reluctant to, take it as my 11th, 12th subject, because I was like, art school tak theek hai, but 11th, 12th ke baad, I have to go for college. So science would be like a safer subject stream to choose. And I've always been confused about what I want to do in the future, which is why I wanted to sort of play it safe with my subjects. But I hated chemistry so much that it pushed me towards arts, and that's great. Yeah. So I honestly, I didn't visual arts was one of the most interesting things I've learned in IB. I think anybody who studies IB can probably attest to this, but we sort of become advocates for IB when we learn under IB, because it's so intensive and it's so grueling and it makes you think. I feel like the amount of work I did in 11th and 12th it's a lot comparable to any single duration of time that I've worked in, right? Like the productivity was insane, which is why just 2 years of visual arts also gave me like a huge knowledge base and a body of work compared to, like some of the things I've done later also. So yeah, I mean, you all know like what visual arts is like, so I won't go into the formats, but I really enjoyed the whole process. And I don't know, I feel like now when I think about it, I just feel like maybe I should have sort of experimented a little more. I did experiment, like तभी ज़्यादा समझ नहीं थी, तो we used to do whatever felt right as an exploration. But yeah, I feel like we should have like used all the resources that were available to us in our studio more, because thoda aur crazy explorations karne chahiye the. But we still tried like a bunch of things.
Yeah,
like we tried
Anjali, I remember you trying out the shadow thing with your painting and the TOK connection that you got into art. You definitely tried out, and the pixelated artwork that you tried to do with your thumbprints and Yeah, that was, you have experimented in your own way. Yes.
Right. So, हाँ मतलब शायद किया था experiment maybe I'm
Yes.
remembering it wrong, but you know I think a couple of days back I sort of ran into some, like I sort of came across some of my sketchbooks from 11th and 12th, and I'm telling you guys, like after you leave, look at your work that you did in 11th 12th. It, you will be amazed at how much you did, huh? Like just the amount of notes and explorations and studying you did. It's like you have like 3-4 years of work jam packed into a small amount of time, which is great because that sort of stays with you, like that open mindset. And when it comes to design or art, there's a certain shift in mindset that's required to completely understand it, right? That's why technical people usually don't feel comfortable with creativity in art. So that shift is actually what happens. You don't see it happening, but in 2 years of time or how much ever time you'll spend with art, you do see that you feel more open towards creative fields, and you understand not just visual arts, but you know, any creative field, you feel more uh, open-minded towards those. So yeah, I think I don't have a lot more to say about my visual art stuff. I'm sure others have a lot more interesting things, but again, like I had great seniors to look up to. I think Jihe was one of the iconic seniors that everybody looked up to, and just having those really good seniors also sort of inspired us to, I don't know how you guys have, is it still, is it remote right now? Is the learning
Silky's work,
happening
no?
remote?
Silky's work, Silky.
Work.
Silky. Jihe
Silky,
was a
silky.
sister.
It
Silky.
was a high grade.
Silky's work.
Yes.
Yeah. Silky's work was insane.
Yeah. And right now also her work is insane. She has finished, she has done her master's, I think, from Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And she has about 40,000 followers on Instagram.
Bapre, I think
Yeah.
Wow.
should.
40,000 followers.
Her
Yes.
concept is very interesting. Like she's actually amassed a lot of followers through this comic series that she's been doing. So
Yeah.
it's not really into like complete traditional fine arts, even though we all saw her work as traditional fine arts. But the work
Yes.
she's doing right now is more into like communication and comic book style. Like she's basically expressing these thoughts through like graphics and through like really interesting looking illustrations. So it like it kind of shows that it doesn't really matter if your artwork is like, you know, supposedly simple or supposedly very straightforward. If there's like a very interesting meaning behind it, and it's able to convey that attracts, and that like basically is more efficient in communicating your words than your traditional maybe oil paints or acrylics. So I think like, again, even like as Anjali rightly mentioned with visual arts HL, what we've done is that we've explored so many things that subconsciously ho gaya hai. And then we kind of explored oil painting, acrylics, oil pastels, all mediums. And then finally we kind of got into our own styles, we kind of developed that. But that happened so organically that, you know, by the end of your 2 years, when you come back and see, you're just like, how did I finish making all this in 2 years? That's not possible.
Yeah.
If I ask myself now, I don't think now I could do that. I did that then 2 years ago. अभी मुझे बोलो 35 studio pieces बना 2 साल में, मुझसे नहीं होने वाला.
And
That
you
time how I
sizes
did it,
up, Ipshita, your sizes
yeah,
were huge.
I was
Anjali's
possessed at
sizes
that
were
time.
huge. Right,
Yeah.
Anjali?
Yeah.
You
हाँ,
know?
and now like क्या इतने बड़े बड़े canvases लेने की हिम्मत कैसे हो गई? Now I'm like, now I would be really scared to deal with like such huge canvases, honestly. तभी, I don't know, it was sort of big, it was sort of an advantage of being ignorant in a way, because you didn't know too much. You were like, जो हाथ में आ रहा है कर लो. It was sort of like that, because I was a very amateur artist, if I can even call myself that, but I was a very amateur student also. So जो भी explore करने का मन हो रहा है, जितने भी canvas का मिल रहा है कर लो. Like there were no really there were no self-inflicted constraints that time. Like what happens sometimes is when you're in an industry, the more you stay in an industry, like you get used to working under constraints, right? So तुम्हारा दिमाग धीरे धीरे narrow होता जाता है. But when you're a student, when you're starting out, you actually feel more free. You try newer things. So yeah, I'll just briefly talk about like after the school bit. So right. So again, I was like throughout 12th, I was extremely confused about what I want to do after 12th. So I had zero idea. So Nanda ma'am, so first I was thinking of doing architecture because again, I had spoken to a few architects. I was like, maybe this is a good option. Then I realized I don't want to design buildings. So I sort of let that go. then i uh, then I spoke to an interior design, like मेरे घर का interior design का काम चल रहा था, so I was like maybe interior design. So that's how my career stream sort of shifted. I was like जिससे भी बात होती गई, like those influences sort of worked on me. So then Nanda ma'am suggested, because her husband Shirish sir, obviously he's a graphic design faculty at MIT. So she's like, why don't you explore graphics? So I was like, that sounds like a good idea. So I applied for MIT and I joined. And in the first, thankfully, they didn't have stream divisions in the first year. First year, you get to explore design. So first year, I realized I'm not really interested in graphics. I want to do something that is more inclined towards problem solving. So when it comes to design, design is sort of something that sits between art and functionality, right? And functional, like form follows function always with design. So mine was a more functional mindset that I was inclined towards, which is why I took industrial product design in my second year. And yeah, a lot of fun. Like thankfully 11th to my entire college life, I got to explore a lot of things. Even though a lot of my projects weren't fruitful, it just opened my mind up a little bit. And it just, you're okay with failing, or you're okay with like, trying and not being able to completely complete something. At least you are exploring new mediums. So tried a lot of stuff in college. And then I realized that in the industry for product design, a lot of the jobs were more towards forms. And then again, like talking to a relative, I realized that UX design was coming up quite a lot. And UX design sort of fit into my skill set more, because it is a lot less to do with the artistic color form side of things and more towards the functionality, usability, empathy side of things. Which is why then again after college I sort of shifted my focus and went towards UX design. So yeah, like it was a long, very inefficient journey of finding this sort of career fit. But yeah, I mean, it just like, I think arts is where it honestly started. Had I been in arts, I would have gone with the safer option available. So yeah, pretty happy with UX now though. I don't think I'll be switching for at least a couple of years.
Great.
Mm,
So which
that's
company
about.
are you working with right now, Anjali?
Right now I'm working for a product company called Dream 11 in Mumbai.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Team 11 is the name of the company.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Great. So nice to hear about Anjali's journey, right? So now who would want to go next?
So I've been pursuing art since I was very young. So basically, I was very small. I was like 5, and my mother thought that, this chick, she just sits at home and she does nothing. She just watches TV and she does nothing. Let me put her in some class. So she introduced me to this art class which was there in my society, and I started just randomly getting into it. And hi, Evelyn ma'am, how are you?
Oh, Evelyn ma'am has joined. Hi, Evelyn
Yeah,
ma'am.
sorry to disturb the flow.
No, they're all waiting for you to join, and they wanted to meet you. So they're all very happy, all of them.
I was just dealing with the post results after math, so now I'm free. So go on, Akshita. I'll join the conversation later on.
Okay. So basically, I really got into it like completely. My mind was just attached to art. It became this really important part of my life. So since I got the opportunity to learn from a young age, also I kept developing it. Again, it was like a hobby at that point, because obviously, nobody in the family expects you to take up art generally. They're just like, "Huh, okay, she's doing art, and then she'll become a doctor, probably, maybe like an engineer. We will see." But my parents have never been so rigid about anything, and my mother from a very young, like a long time ago, she was like, I think you should pursue art in as your career. So after 10th grade, I somehow got a good result with like science subjects. So everybody like that is just assumed ki, yeah, she'll take up, bio, physics and chemistry higher level, and she'll just pass through. And I realized that I really do not want to become a doctor. That was not something I was inclined to, but I was really interested in arts and psychology. So that's why eventually I decided to take up visual arts HL, and I'd already taken psychology HL as well. So the way I had structured my initial idea was that I have two streams I can follow. One is I would either be inclined to do fine arts, or I would be inclined to do psychology. So I think in 11th and 12th, when you get into that building, only there's this energy that just comes in you, and you're just like, I want to make as much as possible. I want to make. Most of the time you'd either find me in the like 11th 12th building or in the arts building. I was nowhere else to be found. It's like Ipshita ko dhoondna hai to art building mein jaake dhoondho. She's always there. So, and like there was so many different like equipment, like the different kinds of paints, different sizes of easels. You had so many materials to explore from. You had like different canvas sizes. The first time, I think, when I came to Gurukul, I saw Silky's work, and I saw the large, like the scale of her work. It was so huge. I was like, I've never seen a canvas this big up close in my life, and I really want to paint that was like my aim when I first joined the school. I was like, mujhe wo canvas pe paint karna hi hai somehow. And I did eventually. Towards the end, I made it also.
Yes,
I was
yes.
like, I'm not graduating without painting on that big canvas. So
Yes.
that also happened. So I think when we got into it, I was reacquainted with Nanda ma'am. So I knew Nanda ma'am from before. In third and fourth, I was in a boarding school called Sanjeevan, and Nanda ma'am and Shirish sir were my teachers. So I had learned art from Shirish sir there, and I was really well acquainted with both of them. So when I came to Gurukul and I saw Nanda, I was like, is this fate? Are we meant to be? So that happened, and that was very exciting for me overall. But I would say that when you enter IB, when you enter visual arts, you don't imagine the scale of the work that you have to do, not just when it comes to creating art, but also when it comes to researching about the themes, understanding why that art is, like coming into place. Like, what are the different things that are inspiring you? Where has that come from? The history behind it all. So actually collecting all that research, putting it in one document, that was, I think, that is quite intense. More than creating the studio piece itself, it's the research and the planning that goes behind it that actually prepares you for university and eventually your job. Because when I finished IB, the amount of work that we had to do, it's kind of the same when you get into college, when you get into university. It's the same kind of thought process that you have to like implement. Especially in design, nothing can be without reason. As Anjali rightly said, it's form which is function. So the function bit is very important, especially in design, architecture, all these courses. Is that you need to, everything that you do needs to be planned and deliberate. Nothing can be like feeling aa gaya. That doesn't always work in design, because at the end of the day, you still need to see whether it works for your target audience, for who you are creating the design. So that is something that definitely helped me a lot in university, because I also did not my friends from university, they did not expect university to be that labor intensive for research. But since I had that experience in IB, I was okay with it. I was like, acha, is pe research karna, you have to make these documents. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I can do it. It's okay. Like,
So,
not
which
a big deal
university
for
you
me.
can talk about the university that you joined?
So I went to LaSalle College of the Arts. So when I was applying for universities, initially my plan was to get into proper painting and sculpture and fine arts. But when I did some research on my end, I thought the career options for design were better. And that is something that everybody should consider when you're choosing your career or your course. You need to also understand what are the different career options you can pursue, like, through that course. So since I was so adamant about getting into visual, like, matlab, I wanted to do something fine arts related, but I also needed to get into design. So I took the next best thing, which was graphic design. So I applied to multiple colleges, but I thought LaSalle was a very unique place to begin, your studies with, because first of all, Singapore is a place where you will not find a lot of culture shock. So assimilating into that place is easier. So then that initial culture shock is not there when you move to Singapore. And also the design, like the graphic design community there, it's actually quite big. Even though it's a small place, there's a lot of different people from different walks of life that come to teach you there, and they all have different aesthetics, like, the aesthetic appreciations. They have different styles that they're into. So over there I got to develop a lot about my personal style, my personal preferences, what I was more attracted to. So that was something that was interesting. But what I would say is that even if you study something and eventually you end up wanting to do something else, what you have studied does help you everywhere. So whatever research, that whatever preparation that you've taken to get to this point and to go further, it always helps you regardless of which area you're interested in eventually. So even if right now you want to get into, okay, you want to get into, like, psychology, maybe in your 12th grade, like whoever's in 11th, they want to do something else. But whatever you've studied, the way you studied it in school, it actually helps you a lot in college and in your career. So I think that is something, as IB as a whole has definitely helped me a lot. My mind was like broadened. I did not know certain things. I was like, why am I questioning knowledge, right? What is happening? But as a designer, I can say you have to question things on a regular basis. That, okay, if even if you're creating something as small as a logo for a company, you need to understand the company better than the people in the company understand it. Because at the end of the day, what you're creating is going to be their identity for a very long period of time. So with those things in mind, you have to design everything. The colors need to be right, the colors need to be very well thought out and need to be deliberate. So even the smallest things that you do as a designer need to be extremely well thought of. Because, and that is something that visual arts helps you with. Because in art, like Nanda ma'am used to see our research booklet and she's like, I don't understand why you've made this, even though the research is all there, sab Wikipedia se copy paste karke kiya hai, but that doesn't help. Because nobody will understand your intention behind the art. So even if you know, okay, this is what postmodernism is, why have you implemented postmodernism in your piece? That is not clear. That is a question that you keep getting asked everywhere. You know this, but why is this in your piece? Why is this in your work? That is something you need to be very, you know you need to explain and you need to talk about. And that only happens when you know your work and when you get to know why other people have done what they've done. And overall in visual arts, this is what is to happen every day. You go to the class and she'll just look at your work and she's like, okay, so this is what you're doing. Is there a reason why you're doing this? Is there a reason why you have selected oil paints? Is there a reason why? So these are like the deliberate things you do. But I would say we had a lot of fun in visual arts. I don't know how many pieces I ended up creating, but it just was a constant. It was like I was like a machine. I was just churning pieces out like this, like this, like this. It was crazy. I think
so
it came
some of
close.
your batchmates said that you created 2 exhibitions, right? That time you had
Yeah,
maximum was
apparently.
18,
Apparently.
like 18 was the maximum. So you had something about 34, 35 pieces.
Yeah, I had 35 pieces for God knows what reason. I don't know why that happened. And I was quite surprised at the end of it because ma'am was also counting and she's like, we had to create 18, right? And I was like, but I thought 18 was like at least 18. I didn't know it was like 18
Nice.
only.
But then you had a lot of option to select the best out of what you did.
Yes. Also it helps in your portfolio if you want to get into like art universities. If you have a good portfolio, your acceptance rate becomes better.
Right.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
my
would
art
say
portfolio. Sorry, continue.
no, continue, please continue.
No, the portfolio bit, right? Honestly, helped me a lot with my design interviews because I had nothing else, right? 12th ke end mein, so when MIT entrance exam kind of overlapped, it was right before our finals, right? That is why I was terrified, but I didn't have to worry too much about the portfolio bit because we already had a body of work that we were creating for 2 years, which is why that worked out well during, like, really well during our entrance.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to get into like a creative field, these works, like the works that you do during your entire IB journey, they actually help you a lot, and they give an insight to the people who are doing that interview process as to who you are. That you worked so hard for a portfolio. Doesn't matter it's like a 2 year process or like a 1 year process. If you've worked hard towards it, and if there's intention behind the work, it's actually seen through. And that is something that definitely helped me out. I would say being in visual arts requires you to be a little bit mad. Okay, like you should embrace the madness.
Yes.
Thoda you have to be. If you're not a little bit mad in the head now, it's like you won't have fun with the process.
Yes.
So if you feel at some point you're just like you're getting overwhelmed with emotions, you're just like, am I losing my mind? Just make a studio piece. That's literally where your emotions need to be. Just like throw it out. This one time I made this piece, I was inspired by Jackson Pollock, right? And something had happened in school, like something had happened. I was very annoyed, so I took paint, I went to this other room, and I just started splashing paint everywhere. And by the end of it I realized I had also become a Jackson Pollock painting. मेरे ऊपर इतना कलर आ गया था. This was all oil paints, that this Asian paints, a डब्बा वाला, कपड़ों से नहीं निकलेगा, it won't come out of your shoes. So I was wearing that Jackson Pollock shoes for the rest of the year because it won't come out. So that I've had such really fun experiences definitely with visual arts, and I hope that whoever, like 11th and 12th graders, you all also have a lot of fun. That is very important. Have fun.
Yes, and Ipshita, about your achievements.
Oh, my achievements. So right now I'm working with a media production company. I've been working here for around 3 years, and I've always been very inclined into storytelling and getting into film and media script writing. So I learned my interest in that after I started working here. They weren't looking for a graphic designer, but they employed me anyways. They were just like, okay, you know what, just come on board, we'll figure out what to do. And eventually I went on to design a lot of posters. So recently my poster for this music video, it won an award, like in a film
Wow.
festival.
Wow.
Then
Congrats.
I was quite, thank you so much. And also I've designed a poster for this film where it was kind of showcased on Times Square.
Okay.
So you don't know where you'll end up, and you don't know where your work will end up. So that was something I did not expect. Also, given with working with this company, we've designed a lot of, like, a few books here and there. And since I'm also into illustration, we made a children's book which is up on Amazon. If you any of you know kids, y'all can just link them there. But overall, I would say definitely I've learned that my interest is also into storytelling and actually creating, visual films and stuff. So that is something I started to enjoy after I started working. So before, I was purely into graphic design. I was into user interfaces. I was into, like, traditional graphic design. But I feel like every part, every time you make a new change in life, you kind of learn more things about yourself. So I think that is something, as a working professional, that is quite exciting. Because, like, acha, like, after this project, I'm getting interested in this. After this project, I'm getting interested in that. I never expected I'd be working in storyboarding and animation, but somehow that happened. So it was just like different segues in life kind of lead you to different explorations into what you like and what you enjoy. So that was quite fun. Also, I won the Employee of the Year this year, but that's
Yes.
beside the point. Yeah. No, you wanted me to list achievements, so like I get
Yes,
embarrassed.
you have to. So we can be proud of you, right? We want to be proud of our Gurukulians,
I
all of you.
appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Pshita. So next, who wants to go next?
I go next, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I joined in like 11th. So, I don't really know a lot of seniors. Like, I just know Mansi, as I said. Like, I just know her. I just have seen her. But as I said, I've seen everyone's work. My 11th and 12th IB journey has been so great. Like, I personally feel that this place like Gurukul has taught me so much. Visual arts has taught me so much, and especially Nanda ma'am has taught me so much that I can't really. I mean, I'm so grateful. So, I mean, to start off with, my name is Ayushi, as you can see on the screen, and I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree in fashion and lifestyle accessory design from NIF. And at the moment, I'm in my third year. So, like, my third year is getting over, and I'm going to go in my fourth year. And so I'm supposed to do like a summer internship. So it's my first internship, and I'm doing an internship as a product designer with Lavi. So it's a handbag brand. So I passed out from Gurukul in the year 2018. Yeah, 2018. And while I was in my 12th, like the others, I gave my, like I took part in the competitive exams in India itself, because I am a little scared kind of a kid. I can't really go out and I feel scared staying alone. So I thought of staying in India itself, and I gave all these competitive exams with all my assignments, all the IEA submissions and everything. But what helped me like crack these exams was visual arts and Nanda ma'am. Like I learned so many things. Like I honestly I did not even need like another course or something to like crack these exams, because I learned everything like elements of design and principles and the world art history. So I already knew so much like backhand that I did not really have to learn anything apne aap se. So like visual arts as a course really encouraged me to showcase like my creativity, and to be very honest, it gave me the freedom to like express myself in so many different ways. It is super thought provoking, and like it really helped me develop myself as like a designer. It gave me the skills and knowledge which is crazy. Like I would like to say like the process portfolio that we have, I still till date like look at Nupur and Mehek's work. I still till date like remember their exhibitions theme, which was seed and apple, because I was so inspired like by my seniors' work. I was so inspired, like I'm still so inspired by my other batchmates' work. And till date, like I show it to my friends, like in my college, my faculties, and they still like they feel like, okay, itna isko kaise aata hai pehle se? Because people don't really know about IB. Like very honestly, in India, people don't really know about IB. Faculties don't know
Ayushi,
about,
1 minute,
about
can I
IB.
interrupt? Can I interrupt
Yeah.
1 minute? If
Yes.
the meeting gets, I mean, the time gets over, we will join the same link if
Okay.
at all it happens. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Go on.
Yeah. So as I said, I mean, in process portfolio itself, or like the comparative assessment. Yeah.
Studies. Yeah.
It's called comparative assessment, right? Yeah. So there, I mean, we did world art history. Now, personally, at that point of time, I used to feel, oh God, world art history, kaun padega history? It's so, boring. But at this point of time in college, in my first year, when my faculties were teaching me the same thing, I honestly knew like I knew everything. And I felt so proud. I was feeling as if, yeah, I know this. And I mean, I could take that as my inspiration for the tiniest of things that I made in college. And everything, the exhibition, creating work in college, and I mean create like taking inspiration from my 11th and 12th and working on the same line. And the assessments and this subject has taught me so much that I can literally go on and on and on and on. And like Nanda ma'am, I mean always look up to her so much. Like I literally in my first semester, when I scored a really good grade, I called her and I told her, she was the first person I really wanted to like tell about. And I was really happy. Like my first year, my second year, and like all my entire journey in college, I look up to and I like take inspiration and everything from my visual arts journey. And it has been crazy. Like how we've done so much work in visual arts, and at this point of time in college you feel like you have no work. And then you see people around you who like are struggling with time management, and I'm here like done with all my work, and all my teachers are like, okay, great, like you're submitting your work like 2 days pehle. And I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I could finish my work early. So it has been great. And I mean, I would love to like say this, that I have this column in my resume, which is the achievements column. Like I recently obviously created my resume and portfolio and everything, and the resume ka column, the achievements column, is dedicated to Nanda ma'am, because she gave me the opportunity to take part in so many competitions. She gave me the opportunity to like actually put myself across as a designer, as a art student. And even Gurukul, for no doubt, even Gurukul gave me the opportunity. And that achievements column is like totally dedicated to Gurukul. Like everything that I have there is because of Gurukul and because of Nanda ma'am. So yeah, I mean, I am super grateful. I mean, every day I have this gratefulness journal. I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to study at Gurukul with Nanda ma'am, because she was my teacher. And yeah, it was a great journey. I mean, taking part in like the Kala Ghoda. I mean, I
Yes.
wouldn't have ever thought of like taking part in Kala Ghoda, like creating a like super crazy installation. And then yeah, I mean, people still like, when I tell people about Kala Ghoda, when I tell people about like me taking part in competitions, they feel so great. They feel like, oh, I wish I was in Gurukul, oh, I wish I was in IB and I had visual arts as my subject. So yeah, it has been great for me. So whoever like is thinking about visual arts, they should definitely like take this as a subject, if not at HL level, at least at like SL. Because I mean, at standard level as well, you learn a lot, and it really helps you in future. So yeah, that's all, I guess.
Thank you, Ayushi. Thank you so much. And congratulations, everyone. Those who are, everyone, those who have been speaking have a lot of achievements already in their what you said, bag. Now, when Ayushi is talking about that she's doing internship with Lavi, so nice it is to hear that you all are growing as designers. Now Nupur can share her experiences.
Hi everyone. I mean, it's so nice to see all of you and like see your faces as well, at least half of you. I'm Nupur, and you can call me Noops because I prefer that name to be easier. And I think I'll quickly talk over, my childhood in a nutshell, to what I did at IB and then how it's helping me even today. And I think ever since my childhood, like when people ask me what my role is right now, or what I see myself as, I do not ever say that it's graphic designer, but I call myself a storyteller, because I think ever since childhood, I always had this way of telling stories, and in whatever form that may be. It was either just writing, like I have a lot of like books I used to just keep writing, and like I thought I published them in my head or something, but it was always about looking at the world in a different way and putting down stories in my mind. And I'd always just be doing my own thing in my own head, and that was the journey like throughout my childhood, and which is what made my parents also notice that I'm more towards the creative side of things. So initially when I started out, I always knew I wanted to do something creatively, but there's always this thing that you need to also do a job in future. And my parents, being in like the software engineering side, they started to see how they could combine thinking as well as creative thinking to one job sort of thing. So that time, I mean, this was when I was in 8th, and that time, like UI UX, as Anjali said, like that time it wasn't very famous at all. It was just coming up, and now today it's like so common. But I remember my mom telling me in like 8th grade that there's something called UI UX, and you can sort of explore that bit. And I thought this was like this major top secret in my head, that it's a secret and I'm going to like go for UI UX. That's where I decided to get into IGCSE and IB and leave all the ICSE and CBSE side of things. And when I came into IB, again, it was I wouldn't exactly say it was purely just visual arts or skill-based learning, but there was a lot of qualitative learning that I gained. And as I said, because I've always loved storytelling, I think the combination of all three, visual arts, TOK, and English, they made me a better storyteller. So I know that everyone's already mentioned all the skills that they've learned, the amount of work that they did. And I mean, as Ipshita said, you have to be really like crazy and immersed into the work that you do, which is exactly what I did. But again, because you guys are starting out, I remember when we were in IB, one was that we'd always seen seniors work and we saw how amazing it was, and it was quite like overwhelming at that point, like, is a 7 possible? I think at that time no one had got like a 7 in visual arts HL. So it seemed like something that, it's just impossible. But one thing I'd like to tell you guys is, one, yes, skills is important in your paintings, in whatever work you do, but what's more important is to sort of follow the process. And this is something that's said time and again. But I remember Nanda ma'am showing us that, I think it was a guidebook or something, of how the grading is and everything. And everything, like even comparative study, there was like a framework of how they grade you and what is expected. So I would say, like, you can also play it a little smart, like you do your work, you do everything crazy, but work by the framework. And the reason why I'm bringing up the framework is not to put emphasis on the marks, but to know that IB is designed in such a way that it really forms your way of thinking. And so when I started looking at the framework and like what is supposed to be achieved, like in comparative study, they wanted you to work a certain way. And at that point, I was just doing it as I was coming across. But now when I look back, I know that IB was like the crux of my thinking today. Like there's this formula that I live with, not just at work, but even the way I function as a person or with my friends. I always have this what, how, why, and when. These are this four framework that I keep in mind for anything. If I'm solving a client's project, or I'm just working on something and I need to have that reasoning behind what I do, that's where I get to it. So I wouldn't want to go into the details of every bit, because each part was so important that, I mean, it would take a day for me to explain all of that. But I think that combination of TOK, bringing English, I remember, ma'am, for IOP, I had taken up Persepolis and I combined that with art as well. And till date, that style of Persepolis, I'm sure you guys will come across that. It's influenced the illustration style I developed over time. And I remember when I graduated, I wrote a mail to Nanda ma'am, Evelyn ma'am, of how this really helped, because it hits me now about how, it was so important. Now getting
your
to
IOP till date as a exemplar, the Persepolis one.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of people who have told me I've heard your voice somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's so embarrassing. But yeah, I love that entire study bit as well of it.
What
Um,
was sorry, I kind of lost track a little. What was the voicing?
the IOP.
Internal oral presentation that we had to give
Right,
for
right.
English. So their batch started, I think, IOP in Persepolis. We had Metamorphosis, I think, as far as I remember. Yeah, I think your batch started Persepolis, right? Persepolis is that really nice graphic novel about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Iranian girl, right? I think I've read it.
Margin.
You
And
can tell though it has influenced your art style. I've seen your Instagram work. Like,
yeah.
I can see where this is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could tell everyone how it came, because Persepolis also had studied very like thoroughly, and that helped. So Anjali, for us, we had I think Metamorphosis was a graphic novel as well.
Metamorphosis was a novel. I think graphic novel was the only. I think Persepolis was the only graphic novel as
Graphic
far as I
novel, yes,
remember.
yes.
Oh,
We didn't have that. We had all written stuff.
Heavy
No,
stuff they had.
no picture. We had this absurdism and nihilism and existentialism.
Yeah.
It was quite heavy.
Much, it was
And that,
very like काफी existential and very life questioning stuff we had in English. Loved it. I think it's sort of made it sort of
yeah.
changed. Like English
It
was after
changed
that.
me. It did change me.
Yeah.
I question existence, like existence. What is existence? I
My
question this
God.
on a daily basis because of Metamorphosis. I think my IOP was on absurdism and existentialism. So it's like two
Terrible
extremely
combination.
heavy. Ghusi ja existence question. Just dive into it. There is no end to it. It was quite fun though. I had fun.
That was a daring move by you.
That was intense, but it was fun, definitely.
Right. Yeah, so I think for us, we got lucky to have a graphic novel because that gets into my further, interest into graphic design as well. But I'll take a minute to quickly explain how, and I think Anjali will agree with this, of how, the system of design colleges is in India and the entire interview process. Because one, it's highly competitive. Second, there are like a lot of people applying to all these colleges, NID, MIT, and I just remember the process of it. But the best part was that, so there's also these design classes that you go to where they have like this very sad way of looking at design and preparing, and they make it all about exams and everything. But thankfully, because of IB, I had a very different way of thinking. So they had these like, for portfolio you should have one still life painting, you should have this, you should have that. So when I saw the people that had come for interviews as well, they had like just separate artworks, but like, I mean, just to show the skill. The good thing was that IB Visual Arts already helped me to have a very strong portfolio and also tell a story, because I had done this entire flow of my paintings in the exhibition. And I remember like when we went to like MIT Design for the interview, and people have like these small bags, I mean like the portfolio cases with their paintings, and I'm walking with my mom and dad behind me with those huge canvases, and we're going into the interview with like a lot of paintings and luckily because I was in Pune, that was possible. But people were just looking around and like very scared because I just like got this entire exhibition into my interview. But I remember when I presented this bit and they were like, you've already done so much, what are you going to do in 4 years of design? Like you're already way ahead of everyone else. And that is the point where like the sort of opposite happened with me, where Anjali wanted to do graphic design and then she went to product. I wanted to do product first, and then we had the foundation year, and I realized, and coming back to my roots of how I've always wanted to be a storyteller, I channeled into graphic design. And I think even today, again, graphic design is currently, but I'm always shifting into things. Like now I'm trying a bit of UI UX and a bit of even product design. But the main thing being that my thought process is very strong because of IB and visual arts, and even the reasoning bit that Ipshita was talking about. So any client project I do now, whatever work I do, even my presentation skills right now, like at office, they actually send me for client pitch presentations. That people who are like much older to me, but they send me because like I sort of take them through things well.
Can
So
I
that
interrupt
was,
you here a bit? Her
yeah, sure.
presentation skills were also very much discussed in MIT Design College. I mean, the way Nupur used to present her jury works, everyone used to talk about Nupur. And yes, she is a gold medalist from MIT. So yes, that shows that she has used all those skills what she has with her to present herself really well. So proud of you, Nupur. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, so that's
Definitely,
about it.
when you said about presentation skills now, like presentation skills not just helps you, like in IB they train you how to present properly. You have these internal oral presentations, you have to make a presentation for every subject. It's not even like every subject requires a presentation, like something that you have to actually,
Yeah.
you have to properly research, you have to properly understand your subject matter, and you have to answer questions. These things actually help you a lot, not just in university but in like your work. Because if you cannot present your work, nobody is going to like you even
Exactly.
consider your idea, even though you might be the most brilliant person in the world. If you cannot present it to the world, if you cannot present your ideas properly, there is no point. And that also includes presenting yourself, the way you present yourself to the world. That is also something I think visual arts like overall has taught us, because we had to do that entire video essay with our studio
Yeah.
pieces. And it makes you feel very conscious ki, like how am I looking, how my work looking, like what is happening. But you have to like get out of that bubble, and you have to actually be very confident when you're presenting yourself and your work, because if people cannot have confidence in you, they will not have confidence in your work either. That is what I have also experienced in working, especially in a media company. Everyone, we need to look the part, we need to, like, talk very, like, we need to be very passionate about our work, because we are, and we need to showcase that also in our body language, in the words we use, in the way we talk. That is very important as well. So, like, congratulations, Nupur, like, getting a gold medal in that is next level. I
Oh
would say
no,
that is next level.
awkward. Yeah. I think also like for all of you that, I mean, I don't want you guys to like get scared or think like, oh, I have to achieve this. I'd say, and as much cliche as it will sound, I think just focus on the process, and it's going to be like your own journey. Look at, you know, the entire framework that IB's put together with whatever subject. If it's art, it's TOK, just look at that. Don't think about, you know, the final output. I have to produce something that looks amazing. In the end, if you have like an amazing story to tell, I think the rest just falls into place. So I don't want to scare you guys or overwhelm, because I remember myself in 11th grade and it just seemed like a really hard, because they also say that visual arts is like the hardest, because it's also a very subjective subject. It's the hardest to even like get good grades. And again, not saying grades for like, you know, because marks matter, but just to like know, you know, how to work around it.
Yeah, so
yeah,
Nupur and Mehak, two of them started the legacy of 7 in Gurukul in visual arts. Right? Mehak and Nupur and Aarti was there in your batch. So that was the first 3 sevens in visual arts. Yes.
We were definitely scared by your work, like our batch, because we saw your work, and because obviously you got like a 7, so we used to see your work and then we used to see our work, and we used to feel like, oh god, we're supposed to do so much. But definitely it was like an inspiration for us, like truly your work, Mehak's work, it was truly an inspiration for us.
That's so sweet of you.
Yeah.
No, and I don't want you to get scared. Like, as I said, even we thought it was impossible, but the process, like once you look at the framework, it's super easy. And it'll help you think greatly. So that's important.
And honestly, you know, with like when you're in school, I understand there's a lot of like constraints and you have to complete certain, you know, sections, and the framework is quite defined, but you still honestly have a lot of freedom. Like, you know, you're not going to find that freedom always, because I'm not saying industry projects aren't as enjoyable, but they aren't as free as school level, especially arts, because as you sort of move from art to design also, right, things start getting a little more practical. So it's fine if your work doesn't turn out super amazing, but you know, in like, if you like arts, this is the best time for you to sort of enjoy that art अच्छे से, because you have access to, like, you have access to Nanda ma'am, you have access to a lot of great materials. Like, I'm not sure how this remote thing is working out, but I mean, the studio, especially the material, the studio environment, canvases kitne bhi le lo, matlab, it was like a candy ka factory, you know. It was an amazing place. So yeah, this is like, if you like arts, like, go nuts thoda sa during this time.
As Anjali rightly said, because now if I look back, like 11th and 12th was the only time I genuinely could just like, you know, ye idea bana lete hai, you know, I don't even care. Let's just go to the art studio, open that really nice room where all the canvases are kept, pick like the most like the most difficult one to do and just do it. Like, I remember I was really into Sherlock, the TV series at that time, and I was like, Nanda ma'am, I really want to make a poster on this. Bana lo, it's okay, let's do it, let's start. And so, like, I literally I just got into it and I made it, and then I looked into it, I was like, that is very, very, like, it's quite fun to do. So some projects you do for fun, obviously, but then if they actually help you in your final work, that is also great. But yes, I think, sorry,
You were going on.
no, I was just saying that, you know, like, you can just explore and have fun, it's okay.
Yeah,
later on you get dependent on your client la. Like, because at the end of the day, as a designer, you have to also make things for the client. So then there the client becomes king, like, acha, mujhe logo green mein hi chahiye. Even if his concept has nothing to do with green, if the client wants it in green, sometimes you need to comply. So I think in 11th and 12th, like, you get the true freedom to express yourself unhinged. I think there are no boundaries that way.
Yeah, like for clients, you're working for someone else, but with IB, you're doing it purely for yourself, for your own discovery also. So, yeah.
Right. I really miss that about school.
I
Like,
do.
Yeah.
I miss school. I think we're
कुछ
at
भी
that
बना.
point in our lives that we're missing school now.
I think all of us must have some pieces inspired by like the pop culture thing we were in that time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Fact, you understand कि हाँ इस वक्त मेरी personality ऐसी थी. So you can actually see that through your art's work.
For some reason, my artwork was very emo. I don't know why. It's like bright colors, but then the actual essence is emo. I was like, I'm not an emo person, but somehow it's reflecting like that. It's great.
Must be a
It's
phase
quite
for
fun.
you, man, that time.
Full existential phase, I would call it.
English also contributed, na, the books we were
Yeah,
dealing.
English high level, psychology high level, and visual arts high level. It's like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
pushing
no
me in that
wonder.
pit only. You don't come out of it, you just go in.
Yeah, I mean English में तो like we had what? We had White Sargasso Sea, like people burning down places. Then we
Yeah.
had Bluest Eye, saddest thing ever. Then we
Bluest, do
had
you still learn Bluest Eye in IB? Do you still do Bluest Eye?
Yes, yes.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yes.
I love that. I love
That book
Blue.
is quite intense though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but now the syllabus has changed quite a lot. So we do the Netflix series, we do like Patriot Act, then we
Oh
do
wow.
cartoons. We today we were discussing Phineas and Ferb, and so it's like the syllabus is now hybrid text. So we
Yeah.
do have Bluest Eye, Handmaid's Tale, Langston Hughes. My
Oh.
favorite is African American literature, so it's difficult. As long as I'm here, I think people are stuck with African American literature.
Yeah. I remember we used to do commentary on songs. We did a commentary on Hotel California in class. I think
Yes.
all of us were sitting. We read the lyrics and it was an impromptu commentary session. So we were all just like just we took lyrics from the song and we were all just discussing. Evelyn ma'am brings the most interesting things to class. So when I remember in 12th standard, like 12th grade, we had to share classes with English SL. I mean, no offense to English SL, but we did not have fun in that class. Because in English HL and Visual Arts HL also, like you get to learn so many different things from so many different places. And a lot of times standard level, it kind of like does not allow you to go that far. So if you're planning to pursue this as a career, right, you should take HL first of all. But yeah, like I miss those times where you can just randomly, Evelyn ma'am used to come in class and he's like, okay, class, so we're gonna discuss this song. We're gonna discuss this thing that happened at this time, just randomly. And we used to just sit and discuss, and it was so much fun. I think those impromptu sessions happen a lot in IB classes, and everybody should be grateful for it because it's just something that builds you up. It builds you up for impromptu situations and even like improvisation. Like you can just come up with things on the spot. You get, okay, this person has a blue curtain in the house. What are the different interpretations? You just come up with things like this because of the training you've gotten, because of the way you've been thinking during IB. I think that's great. It's quite
And
fun.
definitely, like, also, I mean, we never saw visual arts in isolation. Like, inspiration comes from anywhere. So, do like, take inspiration and like cross fit things from different subjects, because that will also help you in the way that you think.
Yep.
One thing that I see when I look at all of you here, the common thing that is each one of you were extremely reflective during your time in school. Like Ipshita, always the hand up and speaking, Mehak, reflective and thoughtful. But then I think one thing that you all share is that you reflected on your own work. And I think that's a very important quality in your field, right? Being able to assess yourself, that is very essential. Nupur did that very, very rigorously. Sometimes I would wish that she was not so critical with herself.
I wanted to ask about graphic designing and
Yes.
how like in university how they teach and things like that.
I think, to be honest, it differs from where you study also, because a lot of times the course curriculum is directed in that particular. For example, if you study in Singapore, right, like a lot of the examples and a lot of the kind of course materials that you do, they're very specific to Singapore as a country also. So I think like if you're looking at overall in graphic design, initially I think a lot of universities have this thing called foundation course. So my university had it, but it was an option. So since I did IB Visual Arts HL, I could opt not to do it. But generally in design colleges, you start with a foundation course where you learn a lot of different techniques for different fields. So you don't just do specifically graphic design or product design or fashion design. You do projects which involve everything. And then you kind of like get into then I think in the second year, which was my first year, you have to choose an area of design which you're interested in. So in graphic design specifically, first off, they start with your foundations of graphic design, which is you learn about the different principles of graphic design. You have balance, you have proximity. So these are all the different principles that you learn, and these are the ones that you have to kind of implement throughout the year. So we also had photography in our curriculum. We had design research. So in design research and theory, we look into historically how design has helped and what are the different areas of design that are like within graphic design itself. There's quite a lot of different areas that designers work in, and that as everybody said, user interface and experience, we talk about those things. So throughout your course you will learn a lot of theory, and you'll have to kind of implement what you learn in theory in your practical also. But again, in college, it's not only about self exploration or it's about self practice. You also need to actively involve yourself in, like internships and actually working with clients. We also had a lot of competitions that we had to attend, like we had to actually take part, because through competitions you understand that these are certain limitations that you need to follow. So how do you create work around those limitations? So as an overall situation, you kind of learn that, like you start off with an idea which is, like a little bit bonkers and a little bit crazy, and then when you start to implement a target audience who this design is supposed to cater to, what are the different specifications to the design. So in your entire course, these are the kind of steps you learn. So you first learn to think out of the box. Then once you've done that, then you start to implement, the specific things that are required for a particular idea to function in the context. So I think overall these are the things I learned in during my course as well. And again, like as I said, it also depends on where you are studying, like geographically, not like only university wise. It's more like geographically, because a lot of the projects that you do in India, they are very catered towards problems being faced by people in India. So then how can design be used to kind of certain like for certain different products that are coming up in India, different solutions that are required for Indian, like the Indian demographic. So a lot of times universities also involve you in that area. So if for us, we had to kind of there's a particular project that we worked on. So it's basically in Singapore, you have this seat reservation system. So you can take a tissue paper and you can go to like your food court, and you can just put the tissue paper packet on the table, and it's like reserved, no one can take it. So a lot of times you see people sitting outside the food court and eating food, because they don't have space in the food area, like in the food court, to kind of because they're all reserved, so you don't get to know if they are available or not. So we had to create a kind of system which helps people in figuring out how to combat this issue, how to actually make sure that everybody going in that food court actually has a place to sit. So we came up with a solution where you have these motion sensor kind of technology that is existing in real life. You kind of apply them to the tables, and you can, whenever someone's put something on the table on your app, you can immediately get to know that, okay, this seat is reserved. So this particular food court is filled. You should probably try a different food court. So these are the
Oh,
kind of problem solving that you get to do in design universities also. So yeah. overall, I hope that's answered your question. I don't want to reveal too much because if you don't experience it, you can't really tell. But yeah.
Yes, Achashmita and Vishwa, both of them have something to ask. So one by one they can ask.
Right. You can go, Achashmita. Thanks. So basically, I related a lot to how Ipshita said, inclined towards the whole media and the whole, the very much creative side of it. So I was just wondering, when you're like applying to like a graphic design college or something, what is there something you're particularly needed like for digital art? So I just started digital art and it's something I'm still polishing upon. So when you're like applying, when you're giving a your profile process portfolio, so like what would they be expecting from you when you're giving your interview or you're applying for it? If
can I take that question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you, is there a particular digital tool that you want to really explore or you want to learn right now?
So I just started Procreate. I'm very much into animation and like the cartoonist side of it. So I just started exploring it. I'm not very, very confident with it, but I'm still trying to build up my portfolio through that.
That's great. Like the fact that you know there's something you want to explore, stick with it. Usually when you're entering a design college or even if it's a job interview, right, like they want to see how much you've stuck on to something you wanted to do and how to what extent you've explored it. So if you're saying you're starting out with Procreate, and obviously when you don't know something, you are not going to be confident with it, right? But it's really not about how good or bad you are with it, but it's about the level of experimentation and the level of exploration you're going to do with it. So you're saying storyboarding, animation, keep trying your hands with different things, like stick with these things. And whenever there's a personal connect with your work, especially with your portfolio, I think that catches the interest of the person, because you're not just trying to sell your work, right? You're showing them that you actually value it and there is meaning behind what you did. That is something that will always be looked for. I mean, what is your unique point? What is it that you want to showcase? So those very emotional elements and the sort of personal connection, keep bringing that out.
Yeah. I think I would like to tell you that when I started graphic design, I had zero knowledge about digital arts. मुझे कुछ पता ही नहीं था. What is Photoshop? What is Illustrator? I don't even know the Adobe suite. I went in completely blind. Even during my interview, they asked me, because most of my portfolio was all handmade. Even the graphic design stuff that you're supposed to, like the logo design, whatever, it was all handmade. I had not touched digital tools in my life because I was very scared. I was like massive. I was just like, this is going to terrify me. I'm not doing it. And then when I first started university, we had a technology skills class, but most of the people in that class, no, everybody besides me knew what they were doing. They had an idea of the software. I had no idea. I struggled a lot in that class, because besides that class, I had to ask my friends to kind of teach me, to kind of guide me, to like, "Hey, how do you use this, how do you use that?" I was completely like technologically impaired. So the fact that you have started it now is very, very good, because if you gain the skills and the understanding of the softwares, right, you can actually make anything you want. At the end of the day, it's a tool. So I think that is what, like Mehak said, stick with it. I think definitely go all out.
I'll
It's
just
fine.
add.
Sorry. It's fine if you don't have like a distinctive style, right? Because I'm still exploring.
You're just learning. It's okay.
You're not going to turn Picasso in 2 days or a year, right?
No.
You have to stick with it. Another thing, let me tell you, Achha, Smita, whoever, you guys, for y'all, one thing, a beauty in disguise is that y'all are already forced to take over and hone the digital aspect of things, because y'all have no choice, right? We've all spoken about Gurukul and the fact that we've actually played with canvases, all the art rooms. I mean, this is overwhelming for y'all because y'all are sitting at home in front of your screen and attending school. So in a way, it's good that y'all are getting very acquainted with digital skills, because that's where the industry is headed. But always design and art, however, your hands and your fingers, however, like how much ever you can experiment, doodle, sketch, use paper and pen, pencil. That will always help you with whatever you do. So just don't be too focused on learning the digital, like the tools. Keep that balance all the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Vishwa, you had something.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. So it was great hearing you all. I wanted to talk about portfolio because I personally right now wanted to go into designing and to be more specific, interior designing. But I also have my fallbacks about interior designing and there's graphic and fashion at the back of my mind. So when I build a portfolio, do I particularly keep in mind that I want to do interior designing, so all my artworks will be focused to that so that it makes it a little bit more stronger? Or, and even if I get into a certain college which I want, can I then change my design line? Because even though my portfolio did not really connect to it that much.
I think the portfolio, like right now, if you make a very interior design specific portfolio, that helps you when you're applying for jobs in that field. When it comes to universities, they actually want to see how versatile you are. And especially in like design universities, most of the universities have a foundation year that you do. So regardless of whatever's in your portfolio, if there's a lot of thought gone into it, if it's properly explained, and if it's like really strong portfolio, regardless of whatever you have made in your foundation year, you get to explore different fields. So then after that you can actually decide that, okay, if I'm really not into interior design, then I want to do something else. And in your second year you can, you can start building your portfolio for your career during that time. So I think right now what I have observed is, like, I also went through a lot of different portfolios when I was creating my portfolio. At the end of the day, they want to see how much you've learned, how much passionate, how much passion there is there in your work, and also like the variety of work that you have. Like, you need to be very versatile when you're showing that I can do, like, this is something that I've done, but I can also, explore these areas. So they want to see how much you have explored.
I want to add up to that question. Like, can digital art be in my portfolio? Because I've met some people and they're like, don't put digital art or put only your handmade works and all that. So, is digital art a constriction?
No, put it in. If it's good, just put it in. Okay, sure, Anjali.
Sorry, that was just an FYI.
Oh, okay. So,
Yes, you.
yeah, I think overall, in my case, they were asking why there is there was no digital portfolio, like no digital work in my portfolio. So I was questioned about it. So I think rather than having no digital or all digital, it's nice to have a balance of things. It's nice to have, like, you're showcasing, even if you have sculpture work that you've done, you can put that in your portfolio. 3D work, digital work, 2D animation, whatever you have done, it, you don't have to constrain yourself with the medium as such at this point.
Yeah, I agree with the, sorry, someone was.
Go on, I'll tell after you.
Yeah, I think I agree with the whole not constraining yourself, because there will be plenty of times you'll need to constrain yourself in the future while you're in college, right? Keep your mind open. Like, showcase, usually it's not about the medium, right? It's about the creativity you're putting across. So I think Mehak had mentioned this, right? The works you feel personally about, the works you can justify to yourself, the works that you feel about most passionately, that will come across. And as much as exploration that you can put in your portfolio, it's going to help you.
You answered it, so yeah, that was it. I would say, like, don't worry so much about portfolio, what should I put, what should I not. The good thing is IB takes care of all of that, because others have to create a separate portfolio because they don't have a visual arts subject in school. But you have that. Nanda ma'am's there, she's so passionate, she'll take care of everything. You just tell her what you're slightly inclined towards, and this is like the time for you guys. Like, don't worry about, like, later on you have all the time to worry. Right now, just enjoy the process.
So who would like to take over now? We have Mansi and Mehak. Who would like to go first?
Hi, everybody. My name is Mehak, as you guys know, and I know you guys have been listening to us patiently since a long time now. I'll just give a little introduction of myself before I start. I studied in Gurukul from my 6th to my 12th, so I was there for 7 years. I'm sure you're all aware of the Gurukul's famous dome, that structure. So when I entered Gurukul, that was just one slab. It was literally like I was very tiny. It was just that layer, and it has grown over time with my journey. And I think, so I passed out in 2016 from Gurukul as a 12th IB 12th grader. But what I want to start off with is asking y'all, all of you 11th graders, what does art mean to you? I mean, y'all have heard from us, but what does it mean to you? If y'all can write it on the chat box, that would be great.
Art, it is a way of communicating a story or feelings without words. This is from Hazel. Shruti is saying a way of expressing. Art is a way to express yourself in different forms. As a whole, I think we can agree art is a form of expression.
Yeah,
Yes.
and escape from studies. Vishwa, nice
Very
Yeah.
introduction.
A form of letting go and having no borders is what Siana wants to say. That's also good. Yes.
Yeah,
It's
very
very
interesting.
profound. It's very
Yeah.
profound.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of you are saying expression, and let me get to that in a little bit. But I think as kids, we all start our art career by being scribble artists, right? Like we've all had drawing books where we've scribbled those like those numbers that we've connected dots with. Then we get promoted to wax crayons, then we are promoted to oil pastels, and then poster colors, then watercolors. And then slowly, if you were Nanda ma'am student in 7th, 8th, or 9th, you would have gotten a chance to use acrylics and then oil paints slowly. But at least for me, up to like 8th end or 9th, art was a brush and a paper and being good at that, right? But what changed after that is you can't no more pride. I couldn't pride myself over the fact that I can sit in one place, spend long number of hours for just one painting. I can't pride myself over that after that, because then deadlines come in, and then all the teachers are like, you got to finish this, like your 10th boards and then your 12th exams, and then there's so much happening, right? And that is why I asked you this question: what does art really mean to you? It is, spoiler alert, it's not a spoiler alert anymore, because you guys, all of you have talked about it being a form of expression. It literally is much more than the medium you use. It is about finding what you want to say, what you want to express, and finding the best medium for that. And for doing that, you will need to try your hands for everything. Like I till today, I will say honestly, I'm not good at drawing, but I'm very good with still life. I can't make human figures, but I'm great with paints. I'm great with watercolors. I don't enjoy perspective drawing that much, but I love playing with clay. And I'm able to say this because and thanks to Nanda ma'am, she has pushed us to try these so many things. Batik, we've done tie and dye, we've done batik, we've taken waste materials from our homes and schools and hostels to make art pieces out of that. Taken leaves. I have decayed an apple to make a portrait.
Yes,
So,
that is a very innovative thing. Please explain that to my students, what you did.
so my 12th standard theme for IB was apple. And I interpreted apple in as many forms as I could. So one of that was connecting apple to the phrase apple of my eye, which I associate to my younger sister. Her name is Kiona. And I made her portrait by decaying an apple using the different shades that you see, right? Like you all must be aware that when apple decays, or you leave it, when you cut it and you leave it open, it sort of has these brown tinges. So I
It
used that to
oxidizes.
sort of, yeah, it oxidizes. So with all those, like I gave shadow and effect and the light and color with. So I stayed up a whole night to sort of let it oxidize and then use one piece here and then one piece there, and it was fun. Like you don't know what material or what form will give you what art piece. It's really about finding what is it that you want to express and then experimenting. And one thing that I know you all are worried about portfolio and getting out in college and then what's going to happen in the future. Just take a pause, because it's really not going to be about how good or how bad your skills are. It is about how much you're willing to let go, how much you're willing to make experiments, make mistakes, uh, mess up. Don't make it too messy. I mean, you're lucky you're not in the art room, but you're at home. Don't make it too messy, but try and, like, go a little bit out of your comfort zone to try different digital tools. Now, if I have to ask you, what is, I mean, we all at our time, we were more to do with paints and more physical stuff, like where we could touch things, but y'all may be having more to do with digital tools. So, what is one digital tool that you guys want to explore if given a choice in your 2 years of visual art? You can just write it in the box. Sculpture and interactive art, interesting. Hazel.
Yeah,
Procreate or Illustrator. Yeah, Procreate and Photoshop. Interesting. So
yeah,
you're all aware of these things, which in our time we weren't even aware of. They weren't even there as much.
yeah.
So it, I will say that till today, I graduated in 2020 from I did communication design with SD Parsons, and the process was in, like, if I have to say design in a nutshell, it is about looking at the problem, identifying the solution, and then looking at the best way to execute that solution. We don't just because I'm good at animation, I'll not make an animation to solve a problem. It is really going to be about what is the best solution for that particular thing. And this understanding of which medium to use to express comes with IB, because you start becoming very self-reflective. You will start questioning your own work, identifying the different things that you want to explore, and keep at it. I mean, your journey as artists will begin here. And it's not necessary that any of you need to get into a design field or become a professional artist. You might start your own business, you might become a fashion stylist, or uh, you might get a corporate job. But what you learn, the fundamentals that you learn with your thought process, your creative thought process, will always help you. It will always be your golden sword. Like, I like to call my art and design journey as my golden sword, because right now my work is more inclined toward research and strategy. And the fact that I have this aesthetic sense, able to connect art and design to form and function, that is always going to give me an edge over the others.
Yes.
And that is, I mean, it's the best thing that you can ask for. Just even for so many of the people who spoke before me talked about the process. Just let yourself go and just try and explore how much ever you can in this time.
Yes, and explore as much, I mean, with some intention all the time at the back of the mind. Always there should be an intention in what you're trying. And without intention, then it does not become fruitful that much. Right? Isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, the why behind what you're doing.
Yes, the why behind what you're doing. Very nicely put, Mehak. Yes, and yeah, Mehak also is one of the seven, the batch of Nupur and Mehak, where they both had got 7. They began 7 in Gurukul. Yeah, and this time Shruti Kumari has got a 7. This year. Yes.
Fantastic. I didn't know she'd taken art. I would say, like, to add on to what Mehak has said, like, even like person, a lot of people assume that people who are creative do not apply a lot of technical reasoning and critical thinking to it. Actually, it's more technical than you assume it is. Like, I was telling my colleague about design thinking and how, like, you learn about design thinking in university. It's actually quite technical when you listen to it. So he was quite surprised, like, creative industry mein itna technical kaun jata hai? Like, everything mein technical hai. So, like, for example, since Mehak is into design research, when you get into the research part, you realize how technical creativity can be. So if you're inclined in that, a college education towards design also helps you into growing your research into design, because there's a lot of things that have not been explored. And and you can actually be a lot of people can be pioneers into some sort of form of critical thinking in design practice and like in arts overall. So like the possibilities are endless, you know.
Right,
But
absolutely,
like,
rightly put.
yeah.
I think my most close achievement is that I published a research paper right after graduating from my college.
Yes.
I published it this year in Jan, and it's in the space of research and design.
Yes.
A very novice field. There's so much to explore, and I'm glad that I've done this paper on my own. Like, I didn't have any mentor, and the very fact that I wrote an extended essay in IB and all the fundamentals there helped me, because this research aspect of things is very technical. But it happened, and I'm glad it did.
Yeah, so nice. Congratulations for a research in design. So we have one researcher also amongst us, a researcher designer, we can say.
Yeah, so that I'd like to leave it there. And if any of you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Because I have been following a comparative study, you gave us a comparative study. So I wanted to know that what, like, not how, but you know, what was the process you followed while doing your comparative study?
If I remember, my comparative study was Will Cotton was one of the artists I chose. Yeah.
Yes.
So I honestly, at that time, it was the first time I got out of my shell to look at other artists' work across the world, and I just picked some of the works that I liked. And as my starting point was portraits. I had this. I liked making self-portraits in very wacky forms, and so I started with looking at people who are portraying self-portraits or portraying things in their own way.
Yeah, one very old master also you took up, where the portrait was made with fruits and flowers.
Yeah. If I can actually show you, I have some of my two of the portraits I made. So what I tried to do was, one artist was really old, centuries back, and one was still alive when I was looking up his work. So I did try to get and connect and interview him and his process. I think the assistant or somebody reached out or replied. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So I looked at what are they trying to portray, what are the similarities that they have in terms of both of them had edible elements. One was dealing with fruits and one was candy. So I interpreted that in my own way. And what does candy represent, or what does fruits represent for this person? One was more sensual while one was more royal. So how are these elements that they're choosing, helping? So it's all about cutting the layers and seeing what that piece, what that piece is trying to represent. And yeah, just I think when it comes to interpretation, nothing is wrong or right. I remember feeling like, I feel this, I think he's done this because of this, and then I would write it down. Then I would think that, okay, but I think this could also be, he also took this decision because of this factor. So the more you reflect on their work, even though they may not have thought of it while they made it, it shows that you're thinking. And comparative studies, I think it's also about your interpretation of their work, more than why they did what they did. I don't know if this answers your question, Vishwa.
It does. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I just completed my second year in architecture. I'm studying at the University of Strathclyde in UK. So, and firstly, honestly, I'll just like to start with this, that I got in the university because of Nanda ma'am. The entrance requirement for my university was 39 points and I didn't score, but because of my portfolio, they just took me in the uni, and it's the third best for architecture in the UK.
Yeah, and so you have ranked third. No, you have ranked third in UK.
It is no. It's the third best in the UK for architecture. But yeah, I've gotten a scholarship of £8,000 this year because of my performance.
Very good. That's great achievement, Mansi, getting that big, huge scholarship. Yes.
Amazing. Parents are also happy. So am I. So that is one of the most important points which I thought I would share with you. But being one of the youngest and relating the most with you right now for all your 3 points, like comparative study, process, and exhibition, I don't know if we have the same way of working the 3 parts. But I would just say that, guys, please sketch whatever you have, put it on paper. It works every time, even though, like, even if I was in school or now in the uni, I think whatever you have, just put it on paper. You never know what solution you get out of one single sketch. So that, I think that is one thing I learned in school because of Nanda ma'am. I know Nanda ma'am since I think I was in grade 4. I did my elementary, my intermediate, everything. And it's this Shruti Kumari in the call.
No,
Okay,
no,
so
she is not. This is different Shruti. Shruti Kumari passed, no? This year she got a 7.
Out. Oh my God.
Yeah. Shruti Kumari, this present batch with a 7. Yes.
Yes.
Very I know Shruti because I was her roommate in boarding. She was in grade 2. I think she was the youngest of all when she had joined.
Yes.
So is again a memory back. I'm not in touch with her, but that's again a good thing. And not much, I wouldn't say much because I think everybody has just shared best advices. But yeah, one thing I'd say, give 100% to everything. Don't do it for the sake of doing it. I think even if you're doing the elements or principles of design, give it your 100% so that you don't have to do it again and you remember it for the rest of your life. I never knew that I would need the elements of principle in my architecture, but I do have them from space to form. I have every single thing in my architecture program. So I think every single thing, so focus on everything and just listen to Nanda ma'am. She's the best teacher. She'll take you on the right path and she'll focus on what you're good at. So just show whatever you have. She's going to improve every bit of it. So I think I'll just say that much because, yeah, everybody has shared the best advices. So, yeah, thank you.
Yes, Aparna, you can begin.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'll do a little introduction. My name is Aparna. I went to Gurukul for IBDP. I was there with others. We both graduated in the 2018 batch, right? It was a really great experience because first of all, I came from an ICSE board into IB, so that was a transition period for me just from the beginning. And then going in, it was kind of unexpected, not knowing where I'm gonna go. All I knew is that I wanted to do UX, and I study UX, so that was kind of how I started out to be. Right now, I am studying at SCAD, which is Savannah College of Art and Design. It's in Savannah, Georgia, which is in US. Yeah, it's a 4-year degree in user experience design, and I am a rising senior, which means I will be in the 4th year next year, which is starting in August and September, that kind of deal. Anyway, so I had a little thing prepared just to explain what my experiences were and how visual art kind of helped me grow into a designer per se. So I don't know if everybody knows what color theory is over here, but essentially the way I think about it is it's a concept, right? And just as any concept that you would learn in physics or any other class, basically, a concept can be applied in many ways. So the way I look at visual art is if you learn color theory, if you understand what it is, then you can apply it, let's say, in VFX or in UX, or even just to paint something. So let's just think about it in that way. Getting into visual arts helps you understand this concept, and then you can develop your own thinking of how you want to portray and bring this to life. So some might choose paths like UX, while some might choose paths like interior design. And it doesn't matter at the end what you are like exactly creating, but what matters is that thinking process, that development. And that development is what I really learned in visual art. So it wasn't just in Gurukul, but even at SCAD, right? When I first started at Gurukul, none of my topic was color theory and all that stuff. But even at SCAD, we had different classes where we learned what color theory is. So it's not just something that's like visual art per se, but it's also expandable into design thinking. So just take what you learn and then you can apply it in many different ways. That's really what I think the essence of visual art is. And even right now, when I'm interning in MailChimp, they don't consider me most valuable because I know all these softwares, you know, that's very secondary. It's like there'll be new softwares every single day. Like even in UX, just a few years ago, the best one was Photoshop, and then came Sketch, and then came Figma, and just blew everything out of the water. So there'll be like new things every single day, and you have to catch on pretty quickly. But that's not the hard part. The hard part is being able to have that thinking, that process that you can take through and apply it along the way. So that was what I think visual art kind of helped me get that perspective. Another thing that it helped me do is with visual art, we had comparative studies and exhibition studios and all that kind of stuff as our deliverables. And in that, I feel like that helped me get through all my portfolio pieces and understand kind of, okay, when I'm applying to universities, this will kind of, you know, I just use those same portfolio pieces. I didn't have to go and make new ones. So that was a big plus point for me personally. And it was not just that it was making a portfolio piece, but it was very much the freedom of it. So let's say that I take a class, like I know the general path for people is to take some class that will help you excel in those entrance exams. But it's like they give you a prompt and you have to do things. But in visual arts, it was the complete opposite. You yourself had to choose the prompt, and then you have to develop it the way you want it to. And I thought that in comparison to all the other classes and stuff like that, where the syllabus is pretty rigid, you just come in and you just learn and it just goes on kind of deal. It's so much more different than that in visual art, where you figure out what you want to do. So for me, my exhibition theme was Lost, and I don't remember what others was, but I know it was completely different than mine. But yes, it's like that, you know. It's not restricting. People think that visual art is just fine art, just painting, just drawing, but that's not what it is. It's so much more than that, and that is the best part about it. So it's what you make of it, and essentially, anybody who asks me like, okay, what do you think? You know, what do you think you learned the biggest thing from visual art? I think the biggest thing I learned is like the more effort you put in, the more you will get out of it. So, and it's not just that that thing is not just limited to visual art, you know, even if you go to university, it's the same thing. Even at your work, it's the same thing. The more effort you put in, the more you're gonna get. So I think visual art has helped me boost my creativity in that sense. And as a designer and as an artist, that's the main thing, right? For us, it's creativity. That's what we pride ourselves on. So it's that excitement that, okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna create something new. And that excitement for me stayed the same, whether I was starting to create something in visual art or, you know, starting a new project in SCAD or even starting a new project at my work. So that thing is kind of carried forward. And I hope that when you guys take visual art, I'm not trying to sell it. I'm just kind of explaining what my experience was. It sounds like I'm selling it, but what I'm trying to say is that I hope that in that creativity that you find in yourself, that kind of stays and helps you create something that excites you. Yeah.
Aparna, can you tell about the process of how you applied for the university and how did you get into it and that part of your journey?
Yeah, I can talk about it, but it's a very irregular experience for sure. At first I did not even think about going abroad, so my options were kind of limited to going to NIB or MIT more so, because MIT had user experience design. But then as I kind of studied in IB, I realized that there were so many more options that I could explore if I did choose to go abroad. And Ginny ma'am, who is our counselor, she just kind of nudged me to also look into options that are abroad. And when I started looking at it, it made me realize that there are a lot more opportunities that I could take. And so I just decided to look at it. I thought there was no harm. I picked out a few places, and out of that, I like SCAD the most because the program that we have for UX is designed by Google itself. So it's very well recognized in that sense in comparison to a lot of other a lot of other colleges that have the UX program, it's a lot more structured and well designed so that you are a more all-rounded UX designer. Because in UX as well, we have specifications, and some people, some colleges tend to focus on one or more of the parts than the other. And at SCAD, it's kind of, it helps you decide what kind of UX designer you want to be. And I really like that aspect, which is why I decided to go to SCAD. So I applied to 2 colleges abroad and 2 colleges in India. So I was betting on everything, literally, because I had very, very limited choices. But luckily, I got accepted into SCAD with a scholarship, and it worked out for the best.
And yeah, how come? I mean, how did it help you? Visual art help you? Like you told me that one semester you had, it was waived out for you because you had done visual art. So, in terms of time, so instead of 4-year course, how many years are you pursuing your course now? How many years your course is going to be off?
Yeah, I think I got 10 credits, which is equivalent to 2 courses substituted because of IB and visual arts more so. So that's 2 courses less I have to take. That's equivalent of $8,000 for me. That's a lot of money there.
Yes, $8,000 for you. That you have saved on that, plus time also you have saved on.
Yeah. I do feel like some of the classes that are just like initial drawing classes and foundation classes, I think that we cover a lot of that in visual art. And somebody who's been through this journey for 2 years, I think we get to that level where we don't think that that's not something that we want to focus on. We kind of want to jump into our own major right away. And that helps speed up the process a lot more. So I did have to take a lot less classes in that way. I actually, in my senior year, I only have like 1 class per semester, when in general you're supposed to have 3. So.
Okay, right. So in terms of that, you had less classes to attend. That was, yeah.
And one big thing that helped me was just the exhibition for visual arts. So since we had all the pieces made, it made it a lot easier to explain it. We had a whole theme running around it, so it made very easy to present it to somebody or explain the concept. Or it wasn't just art, it was actually art with meaning and perspective that we put behind it. And I think that always sets you apart from somebody who's just normally applying or just normally creating a portfolio piece, because now there's meaning attached to it, and it just always creates like an edge, you know.
And one more thing, Aparna, UX UI is a very new concept in design. So the thing is, what would be the advice that you would give to students about career options in this? What do careers look like in this from this design field? Because UX UI is what is the full form of that, and what it is, how does it work? Can you explain that to the students? Because that is a new concept and new course which has come up recently, like say maybe 2-3 years it must have just started, or maybe 5 years it must have just started. Yeah,
it's very fresh, it's very new. Essentially what UX stands for is user experience design. Technical terms is human computer interface. So it's literally what it means, you know. You have the computer, you have the human, and you're finding a way as designer to make sure that whatever you see on the screen is easy for the human to navigate, to get through, and it's very user friendly in terms of its use. Think of it's like a mixture of understanding the person's psychology, because you need to understand what the person is feeling, how the person is going to use it. Then you have to move to actually designing the part, and then you have to test it with the people to make sure that what you're doing is going the right way. So it does involve a lot of digital parts to it. It's not the normal classic using something that's camera, like I don't know how to explain this properly, but okay. So what a day looks like in a UX designer's life is very much sitting at your desk and designing either interfaces for web, mobile, or even iPad, or literally anything. Digital interfaces are not limited to just apps. I think a lot of times people have this misconception that UX is very much limited to apps, but it's not that. And the way I would go about explaining is interface is anything with a screen. So it could literally be the screen that you see in your car, or it could be nowadays people have Google Nest, which is essentially the thing that controls the temperature. Even that has a little screen on it. So that's an interface too. So designing anything that involves an interface has a user experience design there. What we do is we generally map out the journey, try to see, okay, what is exactly that the user is doing? Where is the problem? Try to get that down. Try to figure out what the user is like. So we build personas around them, build archetypes of the user. And then we start coming up with concepts and ideas that could mitigate those problems. And once we come up with solutions, whether they're whatever kind of interfaces they are, we try to figure out what is the best way to do that. And let's say we have some sort of solution, we have some prototype going on, we'll keep testing it with users. So it's very iterative in that sense. Like you show it to them, you get feedback, you improve it, and then you go again. So think of it like a cycle that keeps happening. And that's very much the essence of UX, the user testing or the evaluation part of it, because at the end of the day, the user is at the heart of user experience. Everything that we do revolves around them. So you're kind of constantly thinking about them. Now, the reason that this field suddenly became so important is because of the digital evolution. So kind of every day you see people using everything that's very much related to digital media, and UX is not limited to tech industry or like automobile industry. You can have UX people in any kind of like work you do. So let's say currently the company I'm working in makes marketing, has like a marketing platform for small business owners. But my friend, she works at Zillow, which is a real estate company. And I have another friend who works at Intuit, which is like an investment and like tax thingy company. So what I'm trying to get at is it doesn't matter like what type of company it is. Everybody requires a user experience designer, since you're thinking about the customer, you're thinking about their experience, because what matters is when you're delivering the product, if the users feel good about it or not. So that's kind of what user experience is. So that's UX is UX experience, and then UI is user interface. And user experience is essentially the process, and user interface is kind of like the deliverable. So you're using the process to make sure that you deliver the thing to the user. Yeah.
Yeah, Aparna, you have explained really well. Anybody has any question for Aparna?
Like, how much scholarship did you get?
Yeah, sure. I got a $10,000 scholarship per year.
Because I'm also like kind of looking at India, because abroad is quite expensive. So I'm also looking at SCAD. Like the main reason is because it's good and it offers full scholarships. I'm trying to get that.
Yeah.
So like I'm like a bit scared because if I don't get that, like then going abroad is a bit hard. So that's why right now I'm like thinking about taking physics, chemistry, and like the engineering stream as a backup. So like what does like art how do I put this? How does art give you like an edge, or like how does it help? Like is art really needed in like SCAD, for example?
It depends on what major you're planning on doing on. I would say that definitely having art gives you a lot better edge. Especially let's say if you're thinking of studying something like film, then it just doesn't make sense that you're studying physics and chemistry and then you're taking a major that is like not related at all. I would say that having some idea and going into it always helps. And yeah, I get your point that going abroad is very expensive. I would say I would suggest that have some options as to where you want to go, and then decide and like kind of backtrack and then choose your subjects accordingly. So I knew that I wanted to do UX. I know that a lot of people waver, like others wanted to do industrial design, but he chose VFX. Sorry, I'm talking on your behalf. but see, there's things that can change, but you have a general idea of where you want to go, and then backtrack and choose which subjects you think will help. Like the knowledge of those subjects will help you when you're going to college with that. Um, don't I would say, like, since you're doing IB, don't waste, being able to have so much knowledge. You have a when you go to college, you realize IB students do have an edge over other kids, and it's very noticeable. So since you're getting that edge, make sure that you're getting it for the right reason. Don't just throw it away. In terms of the financial options, I can't speak to a lot of other colleges. I can speak to SCAD though. Very honestly, SCAD has a very good acceptance rate. So the way SCAD plays things is they will accept you, but the classes are very hard, so people will tend to drop out. So we have a very high acceptance rate and we have a high dropout rate. So it's what you make of it at the end of the day. So let's say you do want to come to SCAD. I would say if you do like focus on your visual arts or like getting your portfolio pieces ready, figuring out what requirements they need and getting there, I'm sure they'll offer you a scholarship. I'm not even worried. It really depends on how much effort you put in it. I'm not sure about other universities because it depends on their acceptance rates and what requirements they have. But at least for SCAD, I think it's very much possible. And then there's other things that you can do. Like in US, you're not allowed to work outside, but you can work within your campus. So I took up part-time jobs in my college. So I used to work as an international orientation assistant, where you welcome international kids, you help them out with their onboarding and all that kind of stuff, getting used to college life. Then there's being
sorry.
Okay. You're good. It's okay. And then being an RA, like being a residential assistant. So essentially, if you become an RA, you get a grant for your housing, so you won't have to pay for your housing anymore. So there's things that you can do, and you can kind of work smartly. I'd say that there's a big Indian crowd at SCAD, and I'm pretty sure they'll be happy to help anytime that you ask them. So feel free to make connections and like kind of get about, okay, there's things that you can do for sure, but make sure when you're selected, make sure when you're going forward and selecting your classes in IB that they're somewhat relevant to the major that you would be doing, because that genuinely helps. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, you have quite, I think Anish could have got a little bit clarity about it now, right, Anish?
Yes.
So I think now Adarsh has to talk about his experience. Aparna, thank you so much for giving a lot of perspective to how to go about choosing your subjects before. Backward planning is so very important. Keeping your career options in mind. That is a very good suggestion that has come from you. Plus the UX UI, the new field, how to approach that. Also, you have given a good insight to the students. Adarsh, can you also now please give how your the insights of your design VFX? Many of them here, I think Hazel and all are interested going toward that side, like towards into VFX and animation, and maybe yes. So
it's a great industry to get into, especially right now. Everyone's hiring. That's the best thing you can hear when you get into an industry. I'll start with, so when I started like my visual effects journey, I was very focused on industrial design. I was very like, I want to solve problems. And then through exploring all the mediums and like just every exercise that you get to do when you're enrolled in the visual arts program, like first of all, it's my favorite subject that I took in IB. That visual arts took me through IB. That was the one class I look forward to, because Nanda ma'am literally lets you do whatever you want to. And I wanted to focus on industrial design. And she was like, if you decide to learn the software yourself, you can sit down, learn the software yourself, make 3D renders. That's what you want to do. You could do that, right? And I feel like that is really important because it helped me grow a lot. Like I basically learned that if I want to, I can take whatever I want and learn it myself, and I don't have to worry about like following a class or like just I can go on my own pace, and that was really nice. So one of the most important things that you learn in visual arts, rather than like how to use oil paints, is communication, like visual communication. That is like the most important aspect, in my opinion, that I've learned. Like, I initially thought it was mostly like draw, sketch, that's it. But I like the first class itself, the first assignment that we got was, okay, you go back home and you draw something that represents you. And I was like, bro, I've never done anything like this before. What represents me, right? And then it like really got me thinking, and I was like, wow, pictures can really tell a story. And like, so as working on getting into industrial design, and slowly learned, if pictures can tell stories, and I really like that, might as well get into an industry that tells stories, right? So the film is nothing but 24 pictures in a second. It's like 24 photographs stitched together that makes a video, right? So that it really helped me a lot. I got accepted to VFS just based on my exhibition work. I was preparing for an industrial design competition. I was a finalist, and then that's when I had my visual arts, my VFS interview, Vancouver Film School, and I was literally working on my 3D renders while the interview is going on. Do not do that. That is a bad idea. I was in a time crunch. Yeah. But I was doing that, and the interview went, hey, you seem really distant. Are you busy? And I was like, oh, well, now that you pointed it out, I have to come clean. I'm working on my 3D renders right now because I have to show it tomorrow. So that's like the deadline's tomorrow, right? And then she was like, can you share your screen? I want to see what you're doing. So I shared my screen. She saw what I was doing. And then she's like, do you have any artworks ready to show me? And I was like, well, yeah, because we had all the exhibition stuff prepared to submit. So I showed her all my like artworks. And at that moment itself, she was like, you're accepted and I'll get you a scholarship. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then like literally within like 2 days, they gave me my acceptance letter. And like, if I didn't take visual arts, I don't think I would have gotten that opportunity. Just like, it was so quick and it was so helpful. And when I ended up coming to Vancouver Film School, I soon realized how much I learned in visual arts, from like color theory to like rule of thirds, golden ratio, like a lot about filmmaking that you learn just doing art, like comparatives and like all these different styles and like different periods that you learn about. It really helps you, and it really sets you like you stand out. Like throughout all my classes at VFS, I always knew what was going on because it had something to do with art. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand. I can relate this to what I studied back in high school. This is easy. Yeah, let's do this, right? And then I finished VFS. In Canada, you can work 20 hours, unlike the US, so you can get a part-time job, but it's very difficult to get a work permit. And this, coming as an international student, I have to tell you, if you come to Canada, please go to a public university. Do not get into a private institution. They will not help you get a work permit. Yeah, I ended up having to go to university again. VFS is just 1 year course. And then I ended up joining CEA, Langara. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Avengers. Avengers, Marvel, crazy, huge explosions. Okay, Thanos, the guy who created Thanos. His name is John Philip Kramer. He saw my portfolio when I applied to CEA, and he gave me a 25% score. Like basically he sponsored me and he pays 25% of my tuition for my university. And like, it was just because he thought I understood what I was doing. And it was mostly because I understood how to tell a story every frame. And that all went back to visual arts and like just understanding, okay, if the light, like the directionality of light, all right? So what I do at my job currently, I work at Bardell. It is an animation studio. We have made Space Jam, the first one, Michael Jordan, Rick and Morty, Dragon Prince. Right now I'm working on an HBO show that I cannot talk about or they will fire me.
Right, I know that. My son is into animation and VFX, so he doesn't tell us what he's doing at that moment. You all can't disclose, yeah.
Oh, it is so heartbreaking. I was working on a Disney show and then I was like, I want to tell my parents, but I can't. But so I am a lighter. Like there's a lot of things that go into animation. Who would have thought, right? I thought it was just like, hey, animate this, it's done, movies. But there's so much more that goes into making a film. It's nuts. There's like so many people involved. I finally understood why the credits are so long, and I decided not to skip credits anymore and actually give them some respect and watch their names scroll up, even though it doesn't mean as much, but it's okay. You know, it's kind of nice when you see your name up there. So what a lighter does, it's very hard to explain, but I do have something prepared that I could show you really quickly.
Yes, please. I would like to see that.
Since I'm a more visual communicator, I will.
Yes.
More likely, this would be much easier for me. Oh, well, I can't share my screen. So what I'm gonna do is, can you see my screen?
Yes, of course.
All right. So this is what something looks like before it has been lit. Okay. This is what I get from animation. This is what we make it. That is what a lighter does, right? Multiple examples I have. I didn't do any of this, by the way. It's someone else, very talented artist. I just grabbed it from the internet just to explain what I do. But this is what a lighter does, and this is my job. And I really need to understand directionality of the light. Color theory is huge. Like you have to understand what part of your image has to be brighter than the other. You have to understand in what ways it is acceptable to break the rules and get away with it, right? A lot of my job is breaking rules of physics, because I didn't take physics in IB. I should have probably, but I didn't. And I'm still here and I understand how light works. So yay to me, right? So this is what I do in my job. But if any, like I heard from Nanda ma'am, like some of your interest in animation, I have so many friends who are animators right now working on huge movies that I can talk about a few because they've been announced. Hotel Transylvania, one of my best friends worked on that. The new one's coming out. You've seen the Monsters University on Disney Plus now. A bunch of my friends worked on that. It's crazy. If you feel like you're working with celebrities, you're like, oh, you're as an animator, like you're the actor. You animate, right? You're the person who does everything. You're basically the actor. If you feel like you're working with celebrities, you're like, oh, that character is basically you. I can see that. But so if you have any questions about like the visual effects pipeline, if you want to get into like any details, I could definitely help you. And it would be my pleasure. Any questions?
Are you allowed to share your portfolio?
Can I share my portfolio? I will have to find it. It is very difficult because I don't remember. It's been such a long time. But if I find it, I'll send the link to Nanda ma'am, and then she can forward it to you guys.
Yes, Adarsh, you can send the link so that I can share it with my students.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So, like you said, for each frame, you have to light that first frame, and you have to keep on lighting it. Like you have to add the colors and all. So, how much time does it take just to light one frame?
Okay, so the way it works is you okay, think about it this way, yeah. A movie is comprised of multiple shots, and some of those shots happen in the like same environment. So what we do to make things faster is we light that environment, and then we take that setup and we put it on every other. So it's not like I have to take every frame and light it. I light an entire video together because it all happens in a 3D space, right? And then you export out an image sequence. And then it is also my job to make sure that if there is anything wrong, I have to fix it in post. Like you've probably heard fix it in post a lot, like floating around, like a lot of directors, that's the favorite thing to say, just fix and post. Well, we're the guys that do it and we're not happy about it. But so I would say a shot, like at the studio right now, our turnaround is every day you have to submit at least 2 shots.
So Adarsh, how long does it take for you to make one shot? To do the lighting part on one shot, how much time does it take for you?
But yeah, so I would say a shot takes me like 4 hours to light and comp. And then that, so in a day, I would say I have to do 2, so 8-hour days. And then it's very fast paced. Like, okay, so if you start looking into universities for animation and like just visual effects, one thing you'll start noticing is a lot of their course times are very short. They're like just 2 years rather than like the traditional 4-year, 3-year courses. It is because there is just that much demand in the industry right now that like people get hired right out of university just like that, right? It's just because of how much entertainment is being consumed right now, especially after Disney acquired everything, like Marvel, Star Wars, and like all these shows that are coming out. Netflix and Disney are like the huge two. And then now we have Amazon coming up with all their original shows as well. So there is so many job opportunities that like universities have to push out kids really quickly. This does mean that you don't really get that many breaks as you like. I don't get my summers off. I have to take classes during my summers. It is not very nice when you see my friends just chill who are like in psychology and then they're posting videos at the beach and you're in class. But it pays off, guys. It definitely does, because after 2 years you have your foot in you have your foot in the door. You're working on Marvel movies. It's like it feels nice. It's worth it, I'd say.
Is it like similar with industrial design?
It is. The only similarity you would find between industrial design and like animation modeling, etc., in a technical standpoint, would be the 3D modeling. When you like start doing 3D modeling and rendering, that those are the only technical things that are very similar. I actually do have a friend who is in the industry who came from an industrial design background. It's very interesting to see how their brain works. Like they're very technical about how they do like things. And there are 2 types of artists in our industry. One is a very technical artist and the other is a very art oriented artist. And then aesthetics, and then you have some people in between, right? So like that is the only thing that is similar. But the problem solving aspect of industrial design is like it's throughout visual effects. Like the amount of things that go wrong in every single shot is crazy. Throughout my career until now, I have not worked on a single shot where something wasn't broken and you had to fix. And all the solutions are different. So like that is the only similarities I would say with industrial design and what I do.
Brief, how did you manage to get the work permit in Canada?
So in Canada, like how universities in Canada work is, since you're allowed to work 20 hours as you're a student, unlike the US. I'm sorry, I'm taking shots at the US. We just don't like it up here, like we don't get along. But in Canada, they let you work 20 hours, whatever it might
be. Per
week?
week? So 20 hours per week, you say?
20 hours per week, yes, I'm sorry. Yes. And that, like minimum wage here is 16, but like if you get so that allows you to get part-time jobs in your industry even while you're studying. I'm still in my final year of what I'm doing. I'm still at like university. And so we at our university, the way it works is, so when studios want to hire new people, they reach out to universities first to see if there are any students that are up to the level where they could hire them right at university, just because it's easier. It's like going to a buffet. You already have options laid out in front of you, and then you just have to pick your food, right? Rather than like trying to find all these new artists somewhere out in the world. So they reach out to university, you apply for that job, and if they like you, then they'll give you an internship in the beginning for a month. They'll train you in all their software, and then you basically start working, and they give you a contract. Public universities after you finish your university, they're going to give you, depending on how long you studied there, 2 to 3 year postgraduate work permit. What this is it's an open work permit. So it gives you the opportunity after you graduate to apply to any company that you want to without being limited to them having to do paperwork for you, because you already are allowed to work full, like 40 hours full time in Canada for 3 years, right? So it is really helpful, and companies really like that since it's less paperwork for them. That is one of the biggest reasons I would really recommend getting into a public university here if you want to pursue, like if you want to study abroad. That would be my biggest, like, do that please, or else it kind of feels like a waste of money. I hate saying that, but like you study really hard and you finish your university and then you find out that there is no way you can get a job in that country. It's very heartbreaking.
Just to add to that, I think it's more like not just private university, but more so like state universities. That makes more sense. Like, because like over here we have states in the United States, so it's like they have a state school, and then you have a like a lot bigger schools which can be private as well. So it's not just private, but it's also like if it's a state school, because it's like if you go to a state school, then yeah, like your chances are very slim of getting anywhere. Yeah.
No, in Canada, even like state schools give you a work permit. So like it depends on, like, mostly it's just private universities that aren't allowed to offer that. VFS is completely private owned, and they used to be able to, like, I would say when you apply to universities in Canada, just ask them if like you can get a work permit after. It is not like, as a student, you think it's a very weird question, you're like, oh, I'm just going to university to get a job, but like you are. And like they know that. So when you ask them that, it's not something that like is going to turn them off. It is like something that they're very used to hearing. And like, just make sure you ask what like your job prospects are after, and if you will be getting a work permit. It will make your life so much easier, and you'll get employed.
But a lot of times there's preconceived notions that it's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy. It requires a lot of effort. But if you're passionate about it, you won't feel that it's difficult or that it's matlab, oh my goodness, like headache. If you really enjoy it, then it's not a task. It is more of it's a project. It's a fun project for you. I think everything you do, you should take it up as like, this will be fun. If that's the kind of perspective you have towards anything you do, eventually even the most taxing things, even the most like annoying things become fun because you are open to the possibility that it will be fun. Is I feel like the people who are currently in school are brighter than we are, to be very honest, because they have a lot of restrictions, but they've actually created a lot of things within that restriction, which is actually going to help you in your career and in your university. You're kind of like doing interesting things with the situation that's going around.
Exactly.
COVID is not easy for anybody. Everybody is stuck in the most, like the fun parts during our schooling was actually coming together during class and just like making stuff, hanging out, talking to people, exploring ideas face to face, which is not really possible at this point for you guys. I think the fact that y'all are still like, your morale is high and you're still working towards it, it's actually quite commendable. So I think you should all clap for yourselves if you can.
Yes.
Actually,
And
but
clap for yourselves also, all of
metaphorically
you.
clap for yourselves. I think I'm also
Yes.
clapping for you.
Personally, I learned so much today. Like, I learned so much. It was so great to like hear from like you all, because we have like seen your work. I haven't personally met any one of them, but I know them because of their work. So it feels really good. Like, I learned so much today. So it was a great, fruitful day for me.
Bye, Mehak. See you.
Yes, Mehak. Yes, Mehak. Bye, Mehak. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. I think my students have got enriched, and even I felt very nice talking to you all today. Now I could see your thoughts. And into the space of art making only we were talking about.
Yeah.
So that was so nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
same here, ma'am. It was nice reminiscing the whole journey, because sometimes you get so lost with college and like your work that you forget to see where it all started. And I'm glad we did that.
So
nice
my students may approach you sometimes for their extended essay or some things. I hope y'all won't mind if they approach
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Happy to help.
Yes, right. So
Yes,
I think
yes.
we're done. Everyone has spoken. So should we say bye to everyone? It was really nice. And thank you so much, all my students, to be here, the new ones to be here, and old ones to share their experiences. It was really
now
fun.
I'm old student. Thank you so much.
And all the students waited till the end. So it was not a boring session at all. Those who joined, students have not left.
I hope so.
Yes, and it has not been boring, and hence they have stuck up here, right? They didn't, the students, hardly, I think 7 of them joined, because there are only that many students only for visual art, grade 11 and 12. Yes. So yeah, nice to see you all virtually. Let's hope to meet that one fine day we will meet physically again. And thank you for giving us so much of your time. And yes, it was fun talking to you all. So thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a great day and all the best. And congratulations once again to all what you all have achieved in life. Bye. Bye bye. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am.